When I was looking for a topic to write about, I struggled to come up with an audience type that I didn't belong to. I'm young, an African American woman, a college student, and born and raised in the United States. A lot of what I see around me relates to me in one way or another. So, I decided to simplify the assignment. I asked myself, what am I not, instead of asking myself, what am I? I came up with a couple of answers to this question, but two stuck with me specifically. Today we'll be diving into a piece of advertisement I found, which represents the two audiences I thought of. The 2009 Heineken Men with Talent advertisement uses humor and exaggerated stereotypes of masculinity to appeal to its intended male audience, ultimately encouraging men to pick Heineken as their beer of choice. If you haven't guessed the intended audience yet, I'll break it down for you now. The first audience is in the title, which is men, and the second is within the context of the brand and the ad itself, which is about beer, meaning that the intended audience of this ad is essentially all men over the age of 21. The ad parodies shows like American Idol, as it displays an all-male cast of judges, contestants, and audience members. The contestants in the ad, like American Idol, take turns one by one showing off their talents, except all of them happen to revolve around beer. Men are seen juggling glasses of beer, throwing them up while blindfolded, playing them like flutes, and opening them lined up while on skates. That last one's hard to explain. Overall, the ad intends to put a smile on the audience's face. Appealing to pathos, it attempts to equate their beer with having fun by displaying humorous talents and showing the men watching the show, the men with talent, having fun and engaging with it. I will admit, the ad does accomplish its goal of making the intended audience perceive their beer in the way that they want. However, the ad also highlights classic hyper-masculine traits such as competitiveness, rowdy behavior, displays of physical strength, and gives off an overall boys club sort of vibe. I personally believe that the ad effectively excludes all women viewers, as well as titling beer as a man's drink, creating distance between myself and the brand's messaging. Okay, let's think about it this way. I'm a woman, over the age of 21 of course, in 2009, walking down the aisles of a grocery store looking for a case of beer. I would be less likely to grab a Heineken case, as I recently just watched the ad and I'm aware that I'm not a part of the demographic that they market towards. I would therefore be less inclined to give this company my money when I'm not what they're looking for. When researching the topic of marketing beer around the time of 2009, it became apparent that companies were struggling to hold on to their oh-so-reliable demographic of young men. You see, at the time, many men were actually experimenting with their drinking habits, alternating between drinks like cocktails and wine. Although to some the commercial can come off as playful, to others who maybe don't fit into the intended audience, it could be seen as a force used to reinforce gender stereotypes and norms, further excluding women from their audience. Within the context of this ad, I'm an outsider. I can only analyze this ad using the identities that I align with. And in doing so, I have to say that this ad is an example of something called everyday sexism. I know, you may be thinking, seriously? It's just a beer commercial. And to that I have to say, you're right. But why don't we just take a minute and break down the definition of the term? Everyday sexism refers to a subtle form of sexism that occurs in daily interactions and is often normalized, but can have negative impacts on individuals and societies. Now let me just say this. I don't even think that the ad makers were aware of the harmful message that their ad was representing. But That's exactly my point. The beer commercial contains undertones of sexism, ones that we often ignore in society. The ad's exclusion of women from their intended marketing demographic reinforces the idea of beer being a man's drink and upholds gender stereotypes. In conclusion, the 2009 ad by Heineken, Men with Talent, isn't just a silly little parody trying to convince men over the age of 21 to buy their beer. Okay, yes, it does effectively do that if you are within their intended audience, but as someone who's not a part of their intended demographics, I view it as a hyper-masculine piece of media that indirectly titles beer as a man's drink, which reinforces the gender stereotypes and norms we see in society today.